Hello and welcome to the United Views 12 Greats of Christmas. I'm Ben from at the Race United, and today we're going to be discussing and celebrating the career of Ryan Giggs. Now, before we talk more about Giggsy, let's introduce you to today's panel, and we've got our two regulars joining us once again. Shaun, thank you for coming on.
Hey Ben, yeah, always a pleasure.
And also hello to Tom, thank you for joining us as well.
Hello mate, good to be back.
Anyway, now it's time to talk about our Welsh wizard, Ryan Giggs. What an effort this boy had. Signing for United at the age of 14, playing 24 seasons till he was 40, and now still at the club at the age of 41 as Louis van Gaal's assistant. Ryan Giggs is a United boy through and through. It doesn't matter who will wear that number 11 shirt in the future, from Januzaj to whoever may be next. The name you associate with Manchester United's number 11 is always going to be Ryan Giggs. Now, having a look at Ryan Giggs' fact file, he played 963 games for United. That's in all competitions. He won 13 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, 9 Community Shields, 2 Champions Leagues, a Super Cup, an Intercontinental Cup, and the FIFA Club World Cup. Oh, we could end the show there, couldn't we? In terms of Premier League appearances for United, he made 672. He scored 114 goals. He won 407 of his games and only lost 87. He managed to get a record total of points as a footballer, 1,359 points he's won in the Premier League altogether. That's just some record. Well, we're going to come to the panel for their Ryan Giggs memories in just a little while. First of all, we're going to go through our top 3 memories, and we'll start at memory number 1. And for me, it's the way he stormed into the team as a young lad of just 17 years old. He was part of the class of 92 side to win the 92 Youth Cup. He was the captain of that team. However, he was the first player to come through the ranks, making his debut in 1991. Now, Tom, let's come to you first. Tell us about Giggs as a youngster. He was always going to be a special player, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, from a very early age, he was absolutely sensational. I mean, there's all the stories of Ferguson going down to the reserve games and watching this player and realising that he could potentially be a player to build the side on. But, you know, it's interesting that he actually almost signed for City. I mean, you know, we shudder at the thought of that now, but he was very, very close to actually signing for Man City. But United, you know, put it all on the line to get him, and, you know, the results are shown now. But that shows you, you know, how important he was, how much potential he had at that age, that Ferguson was willing to fight for a player of that quality. You know, he just had everything to his game. He, you know, he roasted people so many times. He's just up and down the flanks. He's quicker than anybody. I mean, it's fair to say he's fulfilled that potential, but at that age, he was just something else entirely.
Yeah, he was an incredible player. And Shaun, would you say he stood out above the rest in the class of 92?
Yeah, I'd say he did. Obviously, he was the first one to come through. He broke into the first team at about 17. And let's face it, he had some great players in that first team to look up to as well. I know that he used to go to Brian Robson for advice, which is well sort of publicised that's what he did. And I'm sure he took a lot of advice from other players as well. I think the most interesting thing is that Fergie actually protected him enough and wouldn't actually allow him to do any interviews until he turned 20, just because there was such a foray around him that everybody wanted to talk to him, and just to sort of keep his feet on the ground. He was by far the head and shoulders above the rest when he came through. And like Tom said, the rest is history, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just
it really
just
is.
just to build on that point of Shaun saying people keeping Giggs' feet on the ground, it was there's that great story. I mean, everyone must know that Ferguson went round to a house party that Lee Sharp and Ryan Giggs were at. You know, he tore the house apart trying to find them, and you know, he let them know in no uncertain terms that you can't do that as a United player, and there's a certain level expected. And obviously Lee Sharp didn't adhere to that. He fancied going out more, but Giggs listened, and that's a mark. I'm not sure you'd see many managers doing that these days, you know, going around to house parties trying to find their young players, but Ferguson did, because I think he knew how much of a special player Giggs was going to be.
Yeah, And building on to that, I think that kind of links into his longevity as a footballer. I mean, apart from the last season, he scored in every season that he played in. He played over 950 games, and even in his final 3 seasons, he still looked like he could play on for another season, even though everyone was expecting him to retire. He just kept on going. He kept on carrying on, and he just kept that consistency. I mean, Tom, what do you think made Giggs so consistent?
He had, I think, it's difficult to say because there are plenty of players that have world-class ability, but their bodies let them down. But I think from an early age, Giggs understood the demands that top-level football has on the body, and he adjusted his lifestyle accordingly. I mean, we've seen the yoga DVDs. He was one of the very early adherents of yoga in the Premier League. A lot of players, wouldn't have gone for it at his age, or wouldn't have gone for it because of however people perceive yoga, but he took it up from an early age. And also Steven Gerrard's done that as well. I mean, he credits yoga with sort of turning around his career. I talked to Liverpool's old physio before, and he said that's the reason why Gerrard's going now, and that's also the reason why Giggs is going now. He also reportedly took up ballet as well. So anything to strengthen muscles and keep fitness, Giggs has understood, and he's been a pioneer in terms of the Premier League of adjusting to adapt to how his body is changing.
I don't know about you, Tom, but I think Giggs took up ballet a long time ago because he's always danced around defenders. Right. Shaun, we'll come over to you. How can you top that? I mean, are you surprised that Giggs carried on for as long as he did?
Yeah, I suppose there's a little bit of surprise there. I mean, how many other players other than goalkeepers carry on until they're 40? But I mean, like Tom said, he's kept himself in the best shape possible. He's adjusted his lifestyle. He's adjusted his game. And you mentioned at the beginning there that he scored in every season except for the last one. Just remembering back to the last game, I think it was the last game of last season, when he took an audacious free kick shot towards the goal, and the goalkeeper saved it and apologised to him for saving it.
It was a quality save from what I remember as well. Yeah. No, it was a quality save as well. I mean, his goals were part of the memories we all have of Ryan Giggs, right? I mean, his effort was a wand. Giggs has scored some screamers in his career, but not one, I reckon, as good as that goal against Arsenal. I mean, Giggs picked up the ball, just to talk you through it, picked up the ball in his own half. He ran past the whole of the Arsenal defence. At this point, this Arsenal defence had the likes of Adams in it. I mean, and then afterwards, he lashed that venomous strike past Seaman. And I wrote down the word venomous because it's the only word I can use to describe that strike. It was an absolute bullet past Seaman in that goal. And after the goal, the celebration will live on forever. It was just chest hair galore, wasn't it? Just everywhere on the pitch. You couldn't see the grass. I mean, Shaun, do you remember seeing the goal?
Yeah, I don't think there's a United fan that won't remember seeing it. That's one of obviously most fans' memories of Giggs is that goal and then that celebration. I remember going back watching the Class of '92 DVD. He actually said he was embarrassed by that celebration because it's what everybody remembers. The hair. It was just pure elation. I'm not sure I would have done the same thing, but yeah. I'm not sure I'd have had the energy to run all the way back again after running all the way past him.
Yeah, it's worth noting that was in extra time as well, so he must have been knackered before he'd even scored the goal. I mean, Tom, does that sum up Giggs as a player, that goal, the way he dribbled past the defenders, the way he had the confidence to do it, and the way he hit the ball? I mean, when he had the ball at his feet, he could literally do anything, couldn't he, Ryan Giggs?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that goal sums him up perfectly. It was just... at that point in the game, tired legs, 10 men, extra time, you see Patrick Vieira giving the ball away of all people. That shows you how much of a slog the game was, that even a player as great as Vieira was just giving away sloppy passes. But Giggs, I mean, it was it was a mazy run. It was a typical Giggs run, but he just seemed to be if anything, running on pure adrenaline. I mean, there's a great, I'm sure other guys must have seen that there's a great video of Gary Neville, I think, dissecting the goal. And he, he jokes about every time that Giggs makes a mistake, he should be passing to another player or something. He tears apart the goal as a joke. But that sort of tells you that the goal was pure adrenaline. Not many other players would have tried that, because they would have thought, okay, I've beaten one player, I've got to the centre-backs, now it's time to give it away. But he was just running on whatever he had left in the tank. And that goal is just pure Ryan Giggs.
And now is pure Manchester United history. Just what a player, Ryan Giggs, our number 11, and he's definitely cemented himself, not just as one of our 12 greats, but a Manchester United legend, and surely a future coach. Right, we'll get to the Ryan Giggs quiz in just a moment's time. But guys, first of all, let's have your Ryan Giggs memories, please. Shaun, what stands out above the rest for you?
Right, it's very recent. It's from that last game of last season when he was interim manager, and that speech he done after the game. Just obviously there's lots of things you could choose from, but that speech, just the hairs were up on the back of your neck, and it was just telling everybody, watch out, we'll be back. And it was just one of the, I wish I was there to have said I was actually there to see him do that. The other memory I had sort of in the back of my head to mention was the goal that we've just mentioned. So that's the other thing that sort of really will stick out in everybody's head. But that speech last year, he'd done the job for four games. If you'd have said to him at the beginning of the season, you'll be doing the speech at the end of the season, would he have taken that? It must have, those 4 games that he was interim manager for must have just been such a whirlwind.
I think it sums up, by the way, Shaun, just to quickly add to that point, how much of a Manchester United fan, how much of a Manchester United boy he was just by listening to that speech.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was so much pride that came out in that speech as well towards the club, and it was, no matter how you look at it, it was a call to arms. It was, we will get back to where we were, and keep looking over your shoulder. We're coming back.
Yeah, and just what a guy. Tom, what about your memories?
I mean, there's all the goals. I loved, actually, we've been talking about his left foot, but I remember him scoring a quite ridiculous goal against Coventry with his right foot, curled it top corner from about 30 yards. So he could use it. I think he just preferred to use his left foot. But there's the amazing goal against Juventus, the run and the smash. It was a little similar to the Arsenal goal, actually, that sort of announced himself to Europe, and I think Juve were after him for 2 or 3 years, but he stayed at United, and credit to him, he's built himself into one of the legends of the club. I think as for moments, we can talk about the goals, but one particularly recent that I keep replaying in my mind is when he set up Michael Owen for the win in the City derby, the 4-3 win at Old Trafford, and when the ball fell to him, 93rd minute, 45 yards out, there's all the players back, everyone's defending, all the United players are attacking, and he just sees Michael Owen's arm go up, and he knows Michael Owen's ability, and he just finds that perfect pass for him, and it's I think that just shows you, like, in moments of panic, Giggs kept calm. He knew what it was to be a winner for United. He knew what he had to do, and that pass just sums him up for me. It was just leadership embodied on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to lean over now and be really unprofessional because I've chucked one of my pieces of paper on the floor. But just to quickly go back over that, I mean, he won 13 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, 9 Community Shields, 2 Champions Leagues, a Super Cup, an Intercontinental Cup, and the FIFA World Club Cup. I mean, what a career this guy had. Nearly 1,000 games. I mean, not quite. Nearly 963. 672 in the league. This guy is Mr. Manchester United. He's just a legend. Our guys have shared their memories. Make sure you share yours at the United View. For you, what makes Giggs a legend? What memories stick out above the rest? Whether they're the ones we've spoken about or different ones, make sure you let us know at the United View. or comment in our comment box. Just press subscribe. Right, guys, it's time for the quiz, and today it's all about Ryan Giggs. Now, do you have your pens and paper at the ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, all ready to go. Now, let's start with question number 1. Make sure you're ready to play at home. In the Giggs quiz, question number 1. Who did Giggs make his home debut against back in 1991? Question number 1. Who did Giggs make his home debut against back in 1991? It's question number 1. Right, moving on to question number 2. Ryan Giggs holds what record in the Champions League? Question number 2. Ryan Giggs holds what record in the Champions League? There we go, giving you time to think about that one. Let's move on to question number 3. And question number 3, very simple. All I want to know is who said this. This is embarrassing to say. I have cried twice in my life watching a football player. The first one was Roberto Baggio, and the second was Ryan Giggs. Who said this? And I quote, "This is embarrassing to say, but I've cried twice in my life watching a football player. The first one was Roberto Baggio, and the second was Ryan Giggs. Who said this is embarrassing to say, but I've cried twice in my life watching a football player? The first one was Baggio, and the second was Giggs. Who said that?" That's question number 3. Moving on to question number 4. What's the most amount of goals Giggs has scored in a single Premier League season? Now, multiple choice: A, 13, B, 15, or C, 11. What's the most amount of goals Giggs has scored in a single Premier League season? A, 13, B, 15, or C, 11? It's quite a shocker, this one, actually. Moving on to question number 5, and the final question, our Giggs quiz. Giggs broke whose Manchester United appearance record when he came on as a substitute during the 2008 Champions League final? Question number 5. Giggs broke whose Manchester United appearance record when he came on as a substitute during the 2008 Champions League final? And that is our Giggs quiz. If you're playing along at home and you're playing against someone and you don't want to know the answers just yet, press pause right here. But if you're still watching, I expect you want to know those all-important answers. And I'm getting tongue-tied. So, Shaun, will come to you for question number 1. Who did Giggs make his home debut against back in 1991?
Everton.
Tom?
Yep, Toffees.
Yeah, it was in fact Everton. My microphone's jumping everywhere today. Sorry if it's making loads of noise. Everton is the correct answer for question number 1. Moving on to question number 2 in our Giggs quiz. Ryan Giggs holds what record in the Champions League, Tom?
I have to take a punt and say most appearances.
Shaun?
Yeah, I'll go with most appearances as well.
It is, in fact, most appearances. Correct. Well done, both of you. 2-2. Question number 3. Who said this? And I quote, "This is embarrassing to say, but I've cried twice in my life watching a footballer." The first one was Roberto Baggio, and the second was Ryan Giggs. Shaun?
Del Piero.
Tom?
I'll have to say I didn't know that one. I had no
You
idea.
don't know it. It was, in fact, Alessandro Del Piero. Well done, Shaun. 3-2 in the scores at the moment between our panellists. Moving on to question number 4. What's the most amount of goals Giggs has scored in a single Premier League season? Is it A, 13, B, 15, C, 11? Tom, will come to you first for this one.
I think 11.
Shaun?
13.
It was, in fact, A, 13 is the most amount of goals he's scored in a Premier League season. 4-2 so far for Shaun. Shaun, if you get the next one right, you've done a clean sweep. Question number 5. Giggs broke whose Manchester United appearance record when he came on as a substitute during the 2008 Champions League final? Shaun, don't let us down. Who?
I'm hoping it's another one of our greats, Sir Bobby Charlton.
Tom?
Yeah, Mr. Bobby Charlton.
It is, in fact, Sir Bobby Charlton. Well done, Shaun. A clean sweep with 5. And Tom, unlucky, but 3's okay. 3's fine.
3's alright. I just can't compete with Shaun. It's just the must.
Yeah, he's just got an encyclopedia of knowledge up there, hasn't he?
Yes.
Guys, thank you very much for coming on to talk about Ryan Giggs. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you share your memories with us between now and 9 p.m. this evening on our Twitter @TUnitedView. Subscribe. There'll be another 12 Greats of Christmas tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Remember, get your memories and your quiz results over to us at the United View or comment below. That's all for today. Bye for now.